This is ContactTalkRadio.com. Consciousness in action. And you are taking action into your consciousness by tuning into Contact Talk Radio.
And on TuneIn.com, Hing.fm, and UpSnap Mobile.
Contact Talk Radio. Welcome to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. Joan and Janet are subtle energy empaths who navigate consciousness. Their passion is to support you in your evolution. As consciousness, we are all one. One mind, one heart, free of all limitations. Experience this reality with us and discover how it can make a difference in your daily living. Join us in a state of grace as we explore, with warmth and humor, this thing we call life. Now, here are Joan Newcomb and Janet Barrett.
Welcome to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. We're your co-hosts, Joan Newcomb, coming to you from Tacoma, Washington, and my partner, Janet Barrett, is coming to you from Portland, Oregon.
Hello, everyone. How nice to be with you again. Oh, yeah, we gotta relax.
It's a summer morning, isn't it?
It is. All right, what are we talking about this week?
Actually, we're talking about consciousness in our rising discomfort. You don't sound very discomforted right now. So today we are talking about our feeling uncomfortable nowadays. And there's a lot of reports of people feeling uncertain, agitated, stirred up, or out of sorts. So how do we find comfort in being uncomfortable? Stay tuned and hear how to be comfortable with discomfort as consciousness.
There you go. And here's an invitation to go deeper with this, to connect with us beyond the show at our website, www.consciousconversationswithjoanandjanet.com. And there you can find out all kinds of good things, because you can listen to oh my gosh, we're all having word issues this morning, Joan. Pronunciation, that's it. Yeah, my tongue and everything. So our podcast, so all the they're not old, they're always current and present no matter what time they are, shows that we've done. And what else are they going to find out when they go there? Get myself out of this.
I'm sorry, I'm still back at what your tongue is doing. Okay, yes. As Janet said, our website is consciousconversationswithjoanandjanet.com, and you can listen to our archived podcasts. All our old podcasts are there, and all our new podcasts are there. Also, our blogs. Janet and I are much better at writing than speaking sometimes, and they are posted on our website. There's information about our meetups. Janet does her meetups in Portland. In the alternate universe that is Portland, in the alternate universe that is her very lovely and comfortable home. She does them on Tuesdays and on Thursdays. And then I do meetups around the Puget Sound because I'm a nomad and I have no home. I do them in Seattle, Bellevue, Tacoma, and University Place. And actually this weekend I am going to be in Bellevue, Sunday, July the 16th at the Bellevue Regional Library from 2 to 4 p.m. It is totally free to come and check out the Conscious Conversations there. And then next week, I'm going to be at the Boeing Expo. I have that posted as a meetup as well, which is why I can segue into that. And that'll be on Saturday, July 22nd from 10 to 4 at the Kent Commons, which is on 4th Avenue in Kent. The other things you can find out at the website is our about Janet's sessions and my sessions. You can also see my YouTube videos are posted on the website. All my Mystic Minutes, it's called. I talk about consciousness and how to navigate life as consciousness. And if you want to find us in other places and your preferred method of social media is Facebook, we are all on Facebook. Janet's Janet Barrett on Facebook. I'm Joan Newcomb on Facebook, and the show is Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet on Facebook. So just join the group and join the fun. If you are a Twitter addict, as I have been off it until this morning. I have relapsed. Our Twitter handle is at Joan and Janet. Janet's Twitter handle is Janet Beyond. So that's going where Janet's never gone before. And I'm Joan Newcomb on Twitter. I have been off it. I have been cold turkeying off it since before I left for Europe. And now I'm right back hooked again. Oh my God. I love Twitter. So Janet, take it away while I scroll up and down Twitter for a little bit and drool.
Okay. And then you can subscribe to us on YouTube, and that's it. what do we call that?
It's conscious
conversations. Okay. See, you can't go very far because I don't know all these things. And because we hear that word a lot, conscious conversations. And it is one word so often in the way we have to use it on the computer. So, also we have our free conference call that's going to be coming up on Thursday, July 20th at 7 p.m. Pacific. And this is your chance to get up close and personal with us. Well, as far as you can over a phone line and in a state of rapport, which is pretty close because that's how we track all this stuff. And for an hour, we explore how you're doing in your life, what issues are coming up personal to you, and then, support you and look at all the different, feedback that comes in about whatever and whoever you are. So we have a great time with that, and you can contact us at our email address, which is consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com, and sign up and find out all the info about that. So, and then Joan, you have an opening in your 12-week to transformation, right?
Right. Just pulling my attention back from Twitter. It's just so fascinating. Actually, my husband works in Olympia and his building was in lockdown. So it's like, ooh, breaking news. And
yeah.
You know, they just all hid out in a conference room for a while. I guess they didn't get donuts. It was disappointing. So were you talking about the conscious conference call? Is that what I was saying?
I said that already, and
you are great.
That you had an opening.
I do have an opening. When I am focused, I have an opening on 12 weeks to transformation. I do private coaching nowadays. I will occasionally do one-on-one sessions. In fact, if you come to the Boeing Expo, you can get a mini session from me. Very rare. I don't do those anymore. I rarely do readings, unless you're an old client and you know to ask me directly. So the sort of things I do nowadays is private coaching, and I do them in a minimum of 8 to 12 weeks programs where I hold a powerful space for you to completely change your life. It's much more empowering to hold the space, to coach you through it, to provide you with techniques so that you can do it yourself. And I've had fantastic results. I actually haven't had the fantastic results. The clients have had fantastic results. It's really a lot of fun and amazing to watch people embrace navigating life from this greater aspect of consciousness. And it's a wonderful experience to know that someone's holding space for you as well.
Yeah, it makes all the difference in the world. Please think about and go through with it, because she'll offer you all the support you could possibly want. So we're going to talk today about being uncomfortable, right? And all the different ways we're uncomfortable that seem to be showing up, or what is it? This was interesting because as we were discussing our topic this week, I was kind of certainly having things were moving around a great deal there. So,
yes.
Yeah. You know, yes. Go ahead. Sure.
Well, you started to ask a question and then you then you kept going. So I'm still back there trying to answer the question, which is, yes, there is a lot of discomfort in the world today, and we are noticing it in our bodies as discomfort, as feeling uncomfortable. Sometimes it's physical discomfort. Janet, you'll register a lot of that on that physical level. Sometimes it's emotional discomfort. So, I mean, I spend a lot of time griping as an empath because I'm walking around feeling other people's discomfort, and I don't know whether it's originating in Berlin or Spain or Long Island. So, what is that all about? I have a bunch of great information, whether or not it's accurate or not, but I have great information about what this rising discomfort is all about. And I also know that at the moment you lead us into heart space, I won't care about that information. So should we, let me see, what time is it now? We have 2 minutes before going to break. Do we want to throw that out right now and then we can go to break?
Go ahead, and then we'll hit break and get into
so
it.
What I see happening is this consciousness shift is happening, and if you're perceiving it from your body personality, you feel like you are raising your vibration. You feel like you're raising in your consciousness. But if you view it from the perspective of consciousness, it is, as consciousness, you are a higher vibration and you are coming into form. Your body is a denser vibration. It is reacting to a higher vibration coming into form. It's a little bit like, if there's an earthquake, that high vibration of an earthquake dislodges the mortar in the bricks. So
it's really like from a higher perspective, and you're bringing up information to this higher place.
You could say that. Anything.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say information. Yes, everything is information, but
right.
What is getting
That's
knocked loose there is anything that is dense, anything that is not matching that higher, clearer vibration. And so it is bringing up discomfort in the body because the body is a receptacle for information.
Well,
so,
in the mind, in all the levels that we experience information, so that's why sometimes it's going to be an agitation or a stirred up or,
yes,
as opposed
to a disturbance in the force.
A disturbance in the force. And so you can feel that on all the levels that we are, so that we experience ourselves here.
So we will be talking about this now from the perspective of consciousness when we come right back, and how to be comfortable with your discomfort. So we have to stop for a commercial break, but stay tuned because we're talking about consciousness and our rising discomfort in the state of grace when we come back after these messages.
Would you like a fresh approach to the challenges you are dealing with? Take a journey into your enlightenment with Janet Barrett. Janet is a subtle energies empath, accessing the field of potential with warmth, humor, and support. She will help you to hear what your inner voice is saying. She will share with you how to appreciate who you are now and offer you new ways to understand and transform your issues. Reach her at www.janetandbeyond.com. That's janetandbeyond.com. Again, janetandbeyond.com. Transformation is possible. You can enjoy new outcomes in your current experiences. They can happen in the blink of an eye. Is your soul calling you to do something more meaningful with your life? Do you feel crazy for wanting to quit your secure job? Perhaps you are waiting until you retire to do what you love. Maybe you are too daunted to follow your dream. If any of these match your life, then Joan Newcomb's Purpose and Passion Coaching Program is just for you. In just 12 weeks, you will discover who you essentially are and why you are here. Learn to live as your greater self and navigate with conscious mastery. Go to joan-newcomb.com. That's joan-newcomb.com for all of her coaching programs.
You are listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. To reach our program, please send questions and comments to consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. That's consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Now, back to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet.
Welcome back. You're listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. I'm your host, Joan, along here with Janet, and we are talking about consciousness and our rising discomfort.
Yeah, we're all feeling it. We're all, and for many probably don't have the words or the, awareness to know what's going on. They just know they feel stuff. So for those of us in our listening audience and wherever you are in the world and these things, we're here for you. So we're going to see what shows up in the next few minutes for all of us as we turn our awareness to ourselves as consciousness and just notice your heart. Start there. That's pretty easy. And just be grateful that it beats. Yeah, there we go. And then just in your deepening awareness, notice your emotional terrain. You have emotions. Some of them you enjoy, some you don't. But really, in the long run, as consciousness, they're great to have. So, don't judge them. Just notice you have them. Okay. And since we are much more than just our emotions, we'll just notice whatever that is, and then we'll move into the core essence of all, where we are all one. And that means we are all photons. Some are light, and photons of biomass. We have frequencies and resonances and vibrations. We have our information. It falls into our stories and all our patterns of behavior and thinking and feeling. And just notice that there's also present this infinite sea of potential where nothing is yet. And that's the medium that consciousness is. It's just all potential, and then it forms. We call that energy. So just notice. Notice the quiet, the stillness. Very present right now. And this is beyond the body stuff, the body interpretation, what the senses tell. This is just awareness. And we move into the area of knowing, or clear cognizance. And just embrace it. You don't have to justify here. You don't have to even track it or validate it. You just have to just let yourself be present. And you'll notice that there isn't uncomfortableness. There isn't any of that. And this is how we love ourselves. So the more often that we recognize ourselves as consciousness, this is what you'll feel. Here we go. And I want to thank all of you listeners now and in the future, or whatever you might be listening to this, is that you're part of this now because there is no time or space. Gosh, that's pretty nice, Joan. What you got?
Yes, it is very nice. It feels nice, like a summer morning. It does. It feels very calm and quiet, as opposed to the sense of disquiet that it felt beforehand. And so that just goes to show what aspect is feeling uncomfortable, and it's not us as consciousness, and it's not when you reside in heart space. And the other thing that I notice is that our bodies calm down when we're in heart space. So it's not like we disconnect and ignore our bodies. We're not in denial about that discomfort, but that the discomfort actually goes away when you're in heart space. So it's a way that this is something you can use, something that you can do if you're feeling agitated or if you're feeling uncomfortable in any way. By dropping into heart space, you can mellow yourself out.
Well, I love how you use the word disquiet. Because I think, for those of us that are more frequency oriented and track information on that way, there is so much up and about and people are in distress. And so there is this disquiet that we may be feeling or processing or tracking or whatever we might be doing. And that might be the way that people get to understand their stuff from other people's stuff. And that how it's your stuff anyway. So it becomes your stuff, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Huh. Well, this is interesting because it was so all over the place. And is this lovely, you can feel life, you can feel vibrancy. It's not dead space. There's a difference. This is calm. This is stillness. And that is precious. But it's so easily accessible. I mean, look, it was right there. All whoever paying attention, all you had to do was shift to that place as consciousness, and there it is. I think we're farther along than we think we are, or we feel we are. Don't you think, Joan?
It depends on exactly what you mean. You mean you think that we're more evolved than we think we are? As I drag my knuckles along the ground.
Well, there is the time delay factor, right? In consciousness, it's all happening at the same time. But when you get into your physical realities, there seems to be process time. And, I think we're getting through our stuff. And that's what we were talking about in the comfort of discomfort, is that it's okay to feel uncomfortable, because that tells you the status quo is shifting on you. And what you want to do is experience it as consciousness, where you can track it and know that you're okay, and that this unfolding you're feeling is just the bumps, right? And the hills and valleys a little bit. And it's hills and valleys because it's frequencies, it's vibrations, and that's mimicking the dynamic of that. So I think we feel it that way. And it's just, this is good. I'm excited.
You sound excited. This is good. I'm excited.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's like a good toke, I suppose. I've never had one, so I can't say, but yeah, and maybe that's it. What it could be like to naturally relax. Naturally have those chemicals producing.
Well, so I'm thinking of a couple of different analogies. If you're in a traffic jam and you're in the car and you're in a traffic jam, you feel stuck. You feel stuck on the highway. You feel in that traffic jam. Or if you're just in your regular commute to work, you're stuck in your car on the highway with all the other crazy drivers. And that's one level to experience reality. And you can also, if you're naturally sensitive, you just pick up on the frenetic energy that is. You can pick up on the anxiety of others or the road rage of others. And it's a very stressful experience. Now, if you rise up above that and let's say you're just in a helicopter over the freeway, you can see it, you can sense it, you can hear it. You've got a little bit more removed. And then if you're up in an airplane, there is this expansiveness and this sense of quiet, and you can just barely see the little dots of cars down there. So you're completely disconnected from it. And I would say that when we drop into heart space, you're not disconnected from your body, but you are distanced from the freneticism, you're distanced from the anxiety of what's going on in the patterns around you. And consciousness
emotional connection.
Yeah, well, I don't know what you mean by that. Say that again.
Well, it's the emotional connection, because if you're in road rage, that's emotional. So if you're observing that, you're observing that and feeling that in just a different space. So when you get into when we look at it as consciousness, oh, okay, the attachment isn't there. That
right.
You're allowed the perspective.
Right. It's being detached from that emotional connection. I mean, because it's not like you're not feeling emotions, because this feels really pleasant. My body is feeling pleasant. So, but there's a disconnection from the frenetic, static, chaotic patterns that are also there. So I'm trying to give a feeling sense of, when you're up in the sky or you're deep in the ocean, you're not tossed about by the waves. I'm mixing all my metaphors to try to get a feeling sense of what this heart space is. And the distance doesn't describe it accurately, because you're not gone from the place, but you're not engaging in that static. muted it in your space.
Yeah, so for a real experience of that would be when I have to go someplace, and I do find myself in traffic, and we have more traffic in Portland than we used to have. So, I'm kind of in the reality, there didn't used to be this kind of traffic, and that's predicating how I feel about being present in the traffic I'm in. And so I do my energy bit and put that into flow, and then I am like, okay, what if I just allow this to be what it is, not necessarily, because I've done what I feel to open the flow up, and then I get to reevaluate. And so instead of feeling resigned, which I might have at some point, going, oh, I can't change this, I'm stuck, and you get that downward trend going, I feel like, oh, okay, I've done my part. Let's see what happens, and what if I could just be okay with where I am? And if I stay stuck in traffic, I know there are forces at play, and I'm still all right. And it's my readjustment, my realignment that takes place. And so that's how I experience myself as consciousness, where that's practical. That's practical use to me.
Do you remember the movie Office Space?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
So I can't remember the character's name and I can't remember the actor's name, but the main character, worked in a cubicle, and even though it's dated, it's many years ago, there's still a similar experience of being in a cubicle, having to fill out stupid TPS reports and, being, stuck within the system. And then he's in an encounter group where he gets hypnotized and the therapist has a heart attack. So he's left in this hypnotic state. And so the next thing you know, he's wearing a Hawaiian shirt and he's walking in to work at 10 o'clock because he's in this, state. And so that's a kind of a feeling, not necessarily that you're going to immediately screw up your schedule, but you're detached from the anxiety producing patterns of the external state, such as like working for a company, and you get to be in your relaxed internal Hawaiian shirt state when you're operating in the world.
In that office situation, right?
Yes, or in any situation, because if you look around in your world today, we have lots of things that can create anxiety and discomfort, and the majority of them actually aren't anything to do with, you're not sitting on a bed of nails, but you're engaging in a pattern that's uncomfortable. Either you're out of sorts for your body's physical comfort or your emotional discomfort, or, you're fitting within a schedule, you're fitting within projected norms of society or whatever. And there's all these reasons to feel discomforted about that. But when you're operating as consciousness, there's a relaxation that happens, and you're detached from those patterns. So you're not going to turn into like a kinky-haired hippie, but you're more able to navigate and be at choice, and be amused by all those external patterns.
Well, I think what it also starts to reflect is, as you allow yourself to be in this state as consciousness, is you get to see how those patterns are playing out and where things are generating from. And as you allow yourself to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, that allows you to look at those things from a fresh place and really look at the dynamics and see how in that pattern it can be different. And that's what this work is all about, is how to be present to the information as it's showing up as energy, not as emotion, not as anything other than, okay, and that's the reframing that I'll talk about with people. And just allow things to be different. How the awareness you develop is coming from a state of, oh, there it is, there it isn't. And so when I get uncomfortable, I know that there's issues there that and it's just a matter of, okay, sometimes it's very specific and sometimes it's just a generalized state. And it's just like, okay, if I didn't have to struggle with this, or if I didn't have to deal with this, or if I didn't have to do anything other than observe it from this place as consciousness, what happens? Yeah.
So what happens?
Stuff changes. You know, I find myself much more at peace. It makes my day-to-day life easier. It was interesting because group last night, it was all about the state of struggle. And it was realizing how, as humans, we experience life as a struggle. And how that can wear on you from an energetic place. And how that gets incorporated into every area of our life. And so if we look at it from that perspective, and remembering consciousness allows us to look at it from any perspective, what does that do? And we had really quite profound stuff happen. And we're always going to use the term stuff because sometimes that's better than the label. But sometimes you don't know what's going on. And we have to be comfortable with that. You know, those of us have a mindset that we have to be analytical. We always want to know why, how, where, what, which are good, but sometimes it's not tracking that way.
Well, I would say that the part of us that wants to know the why, where, and what is our mind.
Yeah.
And
right.
if you think about that our physical body is our vehicle for consciousness to experience reality. Our mind part is like the computer and the GPS. So if you get in your car, if you're driving a newer car, you've got the GPS that can tell you how to get to where you need to go, but it also has computer systems in it, in the diagnostics and all that sort of stuff. So it's the part of you that wants to stay safe, that wants to also stay on track. And that's the part of you that wants to be in control of the external circumstances. So it can distract you with all those kind of questions. It can derail you from going where you want to go in order to keep you safe, which is if you find yourself spinning your wheels, if you find yourself continually doing U-turns when you're trying to get further down on your path. It's your mind's trying to figure it out, trying to stay in control, and what it just happens is that you end up going backwards.
But I loved when you used the word derail because my thoughts all went.
Yes.
I had a good thought there. I mean, all thoughts are good and some are frivolous and some are whatever, but it was like, whoa, where'd it go? So I have experienced a state of derailment. All right. So
my thoughts are good when they're good, and when they're bad, they're better.
Even better. Yes, exactly. Oh, I know. Okay. So it's about change. How do we view change? Because what's coming out of all of this is our conscious awareness, as consciousness that change is happening, and it's that human that goes, I'm not so sure about that. I gotta feel it. And there's some kind of thing that feeling change isn't always good. And I think that runs deep. And it's that control mechanism. And I'll change when I say. And so here's this information that's flowing in, and we're frantically trying to control how we feel about it. And it's just perhaps takes us to a place of overwhelm, which is not necessarily a bad thing, because then it relaxes that state of control and stuff happens while you're being diverted or derailed. So derailing isn't necessarily bad, because derailing is that track, and if nothing happens, I'm going to get there this way, and it's oblivious to everything else. And so you need sometimes to be taken off that track and finding new ways and new territories to explore and stuff. So now I think some of this is about change and how we experience that.
I think all of it's about change, because your body doesn't like change. We're creatures of habit, and we want to stay wallowing on our mud. And so the discomfort arises is when that which is familiar is disintegrating, going away, and there's new sensations. And so your kind of body's going, this is not feeling comfortable.
Well, yeah, it's that, change, the why in the road is showing up, and you're going to have to go one way or the other. And you've just been going on, and what do you do, right? And we all had that experience of, we know something's going to happen, and whether it's how much credence we want to give it. And that is our sense of, as consciousness, that's saying, okay, get ready, here we go. And our reluctance, our need to process it, and process about being in control so often, and how we navigate that. So if we all can just relax and access ourselves as consciousness in this state, heart-centered awareness, we realize that our attachment to outcomes shifts. And those conditions that have dictated only so many ways and outcomes now gets loosey-goosey, and something else could happen.
Yes, you bring up a good point with that, because our focus here is how to be comfortable with discomfort. And consciousness, you said it in a different way, but consciousness is neutral. There is no good or bad to consciousness. So feeling uncomfortable isn't a bad thing. Right. And there are also people who thrive on adrenaline. So they like feeling uncomfortable, or they'd have no problem, running naked in the snow kind of experience, or bungee jumping, or, putting their bodies into situations that your body would feel uncomfortable about. And as consciousness, it's all about experiencing the physical, and it's all about it's all about the sensation, and it's about creation as well. So being creative is what I was struggling for. So if your storyline has a lot of successful things in it, or good feeling things, well, that's great, but it's equally as creative to have really stressful things and really uncomfortable things. It's all about your creativity. So when you look at the sum total of your life, you could say that you're equally creative if you've got a lot of, maybe even more creative, because you're going to win an Oscar if you have terrible things to go on.
Yeah, we seem to reward drama more than we do comedy.
Right.
And comedy is just the transformation of tragedy. That's really what it is. I mean, we all know that laughter that comes out of recognizing, oh yeah, that's me. Okay. And that's the release of it. And I don't think we hold enough awareness of it, that is the power of laughter, and why it serves so well, because it's a release valve, and it's, you wonder how you can laugh at tragedies. And in this country, we've done this from a political place and status. And you do find where what makes us uncomfortable is our avenue to shift. It's our avenue to change. It's our avenue to accessing what is truthful, and not judge it, love it, and let it be, or let it be different. That's what you get. You let it be, or you let it be different. And if you don't judge it, it's easy there that way.
Yeah. And you're, about laughing. Consciousness natural state is joyous and amused. And consciousness is amused about all sorts of things that your body takes very seriously. Body is not going to make it out of this lifetime alive. So it's, everything is threatening to it. And that's why you can be sitting at some place like you're sitting in a funeral, which is really painful, really somber, really miss the person, and you suddenly feel like laughing. Yeah. And it doesn't mean that you're insane. It just means that,
or disrespectful. It just means,
as consciousness, there is no loss. As consciousness, you're all still connected. So, consciousness doesn't view it with the same distress that your body does, because your body goes, there's no body left anymore. I can't connect with it. So consciousness will find amusement in things that bodies find very distasteful. Yeah. And so, yeah, again, that's, if you feel amused about something, and not necessarily in a gallows humor kind of way, but if you feel lighthearted and you feel amused, that is an indicator that you are more aligned or more connected with your greater self as consciousness. And it's a good way to navigate.
Well, I think it's interesting when you find yourself in that state, because you realize what you were so invested in really was just what you were so invested in, and that's all. And we give everything and anything its meaning, and that's to the individual, what's important or not important. But as we are in this century and in this time and place and space with our bodies and what societies we have been through and what civilization means and our history is present, it's a lot of information that is on a level where we're not aware of it. So it's the unconscious and the non-conscious and all the other kind of consciousness out there that we embody. And so a lot of people are holding informational states they're not aware of. And so stressors happen, and there it is. Oh, I didn't know I felt that way about something. And you realize that maybe you feel different than what you see your family feeling and what you see your political party feeling, and et cetera, et cetera. This is a time of us to come to our own awareness of ourselves and as consciousness and what that is about. And, you know, the planet's only so big, and we're all here. And
I'm going to jump in on that.
Yeah.
Couple things is that this is a creation of our consciousness, and it's a hologram, and so the planet being big or small is also it can expand and shrink depending on your perspective of it. Mm-hmm. But you pointed out political parties and things like that, and I would say that anything that anyone believes is solid and real is what is in the process of disintegrating. So your beliefs about your political party, your beliefs about your spiritual practice, your religious beliefs, those are disintegrating as well. Your things you identify with in terms of your career can be disintegrating. And what it really means is that you're in the process of expansion. So you might be feeling something disintegrating or going away and feeling that loss. But from your perspective of consciousness, you'll be excited about it because you're actually expanding beyond that. So something greater and new is showing up in your life, is coming into form in this process as well.
Well put. Really, that's wonderful. You know, and what is the statement about the void and vacuum and voids? And that something will show up, and you may not what will show up when something releases or it's getting to that point. And if you've encoded and you're holding yourself as awareness, as consciousness, and realizing that it doesn't have to be what replaces it does not have to be as bad or as worse or worser, and can be something other than that. And you can reframe it into, I'm okay. This is interesting. This is fun. Then what shows up is not the same, and it's in a new context. And that's sometimes what we feel uncomfortable with, is that we feel this disintegration that you're describing so well, and we don't, well, what's going to replace it? What's left? And what if it was better? And we don't use those terms in consciousness because it just doesn't really matter. That's a judgment word. So what if it just enhances your awareness of yourself as your divineness, or put it in a context that works for you?
I am going to invite everyone to hold the state that they're in, to notice what they're noticing, notice if they feel different than before or whatever they're feeling, because that is the effects of being in heart space and listening to this discussion of consciousness. But we need to take a commercial break, so I want to let folks know that they're listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. I'm your host, Joan, along here with Janet, and we will be right back because we're talking about consciousness and our rising discomfort after these messages.
Would you like a fresh approach to the challenges you are dealing with? Take a journey into your enlightenment with Janet Barrett. Janet is a subtle energies empath, accessing the field of potential with warmth, humor, and support. She will help you to hear what your inner voice is saying. She will share with you how to appreciate who you are now and offer you new ways to understand and transform your issues. Reach her at www.janetandbeyond.com. That's janetandbeyond.com. Again, janetandbeyond.com. Transformation is possible. You can enjoy new outcomes in your current experiences. They can happen in the blink of an eye. Is your soul calling you to do something more meaningful with your life? Do you feel crazy for wanting to quit your secure job? Perhaps you are waiting until you retire to do what you love. Maybe you are too daunted to follow your dream. If any of these match your life, then Joan Newcomb's Purpose and Passion Coaching Program is just for you. In just 12 weeks, you will discover who you essentially are and why you are here. Learn to live as your greater self and navigate with conscious mastery. Go to joan-newcomb.com. That's joan-newcomb.com for all of her coaching programs.
You are listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. To reach our program, please send questions and comments to consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. That's consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Now, back to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet.
Welcome back. You're listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. I'm your host, Joan. We're along here with Janet, and we are talking about consciousness and our rising discomfort. I want to switch that because I don't feel rising discomfort anymore. Let's talk about rising comfort.
Yeah. Whoa. Good job, everybody.
Yeah, I like to see what's rising there, and that looks very comfortable.
Yeah. What if that's what this is? I mean, it's important sometimes to acknowledge where and give energy a label. And then it works through all your layers of mind and all that stuff. And then it doesn't really matter. So it's like, okay, well, there it was. And, where is it? You shift to that. So when you feel that, that's what's happening, is that you don't need it anymore. And, for those of you who haven't worked with someone who does conscious technologies, you might not hold that awareness, but that's how quickly it works, is that something's there and now it's not. And, that's something that Joan and I deal with all the time, is because we are tracking that different stuff. And it's like, it could be like watching a fly on a screen sometimes, it's like, whoa, where is it? Yeah. Huh. Good job, audience. You're doing great.
Everyone is following along, or it's just easy to be in heart space. If you're experiencing a summer afternoon or daytime, or of course half of you aren't in the daytime, half of you aren't in the summer, so who knows what everyone's feeling.
Right.
Or
right.
when you're listening to this.
And see, that's why I bet circumstances don't matter, right? Because consciousness is kind of beyond that. It's outside the atmosphere, right? And so, it embraces the atmosphere just as much as the outside the atmosphere. So, it's our internal space that we're looking at and being comfortable. And what if this is you being more comfortable with the wonder that's in you? Because, a lot of people have learned to not acknowledge their own sense of wonder. I always call it wonder. And so it's in being comfortable with the idea that how powerful we are is important. And maybe that's part of what all this shift is about. I think it is.
Well, I was thinking my son who's in Germany right now had kind of a scary thing happen. He was exercising and he slipped and he ended up fracturing his vertebra, which is a really painful thing, but where it was in his lumbar, you can't do anything about it. And so he hasn't been getting very satisfactory information about it. And at some point, he said that he just decided that he was not going to let the pain, deter him, I guess is what it was, because he was spending most of his time feeling miserable about it and then realizing that wasn't doing any good. So I think about us operating as greater consciousness is at ease with being uncomfortable. And so that's kind of about how to navigate this world, is by not letting the pain dictate it, but letting you as consciousness dictate it. And then actually you feel less pain when you're not focused on it that much.
Well, your attention shifts.
Yes.
Yeah, that focus point just totally shifts. And you go, oh, okay, this can totally debilitate me, or I can experience this and other things at the same time. So, I think those are important.
And that being said, the other thing that it does occur to me is that when I do my consciousness techniques, and I focal point in my form, it actually makes the pain go away. So embodying your body with consciousness can, on one level, make it feel like it's more acute, but on another level, actually dissipate the discomfort. So that's something to play with.
Definitely. And it depends upon, physical things happen and things occur as a result. It also works in the way you think. It occurs in the way you feel about things. And so all of those can be affecting what you're feeling physically. So it's just an opportunity to notice information and really see what's going on. But I think we're getting close here.
Right. So I wanted to give people an opportunity to connect with us beyond the show. And I was going to tell them about our website, ConsciousConversationsWithJoanandJanet.com. And there you can listen to our podcasts. So all our shows are podcasted and stored there. You can read our blogs. Janet and I write really fascinating things about being as consciousness. We also hold meetups, and you can find the schedules there. Janet does hers on Tuesday and Thursdays in her lovely home in Portland, and I do them around the Puget Sound. The one coming up most recently is this coming Sunday, July the 16th from 2 to 4 p.m. I'm going to be in Bellevue, and I will be at the downtown library in Bellevue holding conscious conversations. So you can come talk with me and others at this particular level, and I will also throw in a bonus technique to learn about how to navigate life as consciousness. And the following week, I'm going to be in Kent at the Boeing Expo, Saturday, July the 22nd. It goes all day from 10 to 4, and that is at the Kent Commons. And come on by and you can get a mini session from me. That is a very rare opportunity to get a mini session. And other things, ways to get in touch with us is we are on Facebook, Janet Barrett, Joan Newcomb, and Conscious Conversations. We're all on Facebook. We're on Twitter at Joan and Janet, at Janet and Beyond, and at Joan Newcomb on Twitter. And you can subscribe to the show on YouTube, Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. I'm on YouTube as well, but I post my videos on the website as well, so you can find us there. And tell them about our Conscious Conference call.
Okay, coming up July 20th, the third Thursday evening of the month, 7 p.m. Pacific, for an hour. We take time, get up close and personal, work on maybe your questions that you have that are concerning you in your daily life, what's making you uncomfortable, and we'll see what the input of us and noticing it for you can make a difference. And it always does. So that's kind of the given. You just have to show up and put your 2 cents in, and it'll pay rewards in millions. So please join us. And that's at Conscious with Joan and Janet at gmail.com.
And speaking of millions, just the last plug that I do have an opening for a coaching client. If you would like to have a personal experience with how to navigate life as consciousness, if you'd like me to hold space for at least 12 weeks for you to completely transform your life and really have a sense of mastery with navigating your life as consciousness, go to my website, joan-newcomb.com, and look at my coaching programs.
Oh, well, this has been wonderful. I feel this feels different. I'm much more comfortable. I feel smug.
I feel smug. Do. Well, it has been a very pleasant afternoon. It's a nice little break from all the other things going on. And if you do find yourself going into a roller coaster, realize that you can still be calm as consciousness in heart space, even while whatever is going on the outside feels like a roller coaster.
Right. And so just notice this week in terms of what's comfortable for you. And maybe where being uncomfortable is an okay thing so that you can go back to being comfortable in a different way. So thanks so much for joining us. It's lovely to be with you.
You've been listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. I'm your host, Joan.
And I'm Janet. Still Janet.
Yes. And thank you for joining us as Consciousness Expressing and Evolving. And tune in next week, same time, same channels.
You've been listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. And thanks so much for helping to co-create the show, no matter if you're listening live or on demand. You energetically contribute to our collective experience. Joan and Janet love to hear from you and invite you to email your comments and ideas for them to explore each week. Contact them at consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Tune in next week for another great show, and until then, keep enjoying this wonderful adventure we call life.